Hello and welcome to another research highlight. Now this review comes from the CIBW 117 journal. The publication is titled The Impact of Utilizing Expertise to Project Risk and Performance. Now if you want the full publication, again, see the link in the video description. But this publication gave some good insights into risk mitigation and what I think is really the key behind avoiding risk. Now, if you didn't know, currently organizations are struggling to find project and risk management practices that work. When looking at any industry performance, it would be lower than you would think. It's around 30% on time and 37% on budget, which is pretty low. I would be thinking more like 80%. Even with the various new methods, though, this has not changed very much in the last years. This is nothing new. Research has identified common risks, but have not identified any conclusive methods to mitigate those risks, which is really surprising, actually. I mean, they have not proven one is better than the other by documented performance. Now, the best value approach is one of the few solutions that have documented to increase performance and risk mitigation. Rivera and Kashiwagi analyzed 12 different project management methodologies and found that the BVA was unique in that it focused on utilizing expertise to minimize risk. In contrast, the majority of project and risk management models, they said, focused on increasing communication and collaboration. Now, some unique factors of risk with the BVA include things like experts are the only ones that can minimize and mitigate risk. Experts have no risk in a project. The greatest risk to a project is caused by non-expert stakeholders or stakeholders in general. Experts are able to minimize risk caused by non-expert stakeholders through transparent planning and tracking. And that's really the only reason the expert can mitigate the risk, because they're the only ones that can create that transparency through planning and tracking. Now, if you're new to the best value approach, or the BVA for short, it has 4 different phases, which include a preparation phase used to create the RFP, a selection phase which uses 5 criteria, including level of expertise, risk assessment, value added, interview, and cost, to select a vendor. 3, a clarification phase, which requires the selected vendor at that point to present a detailed plan and scope for client approval and contract signing. And 4, the execution phase, in which the project is delivered. Now, given the track record of BVA, the research's focus was to identify the impact that the BVA framework can have with an expert vendor in terms of risk and performance. So the research goes on to document and analyze then the selection and execution of a project using the BVA. Now, starting with the analysis of the selection phase, the contractors were given 14 days to come up with the necessary documents, so it happened pretty quick. The awarded contractor identified that early coordination and preparation led to their success, and that included things like identifying experts for the project, identifying unique risk or aspects, clarifying unknowns, and coordinating schedules and expectations internally. Now, in looking at the clarification phase, it was identified that normally this type of planning happens after the award, if at all. Uniquely to the BVA, the planning included the action items expected from not only the vendor, but all client stakeholders tied to the project. Normally, contractors only focus on their own action items, so that's unique to the BVA. Risk mitigation protocol was determined up front, which saved time and energy as there was little lag time during the project. Most notable, though, was the fact that due to proper clarification, adjustments could be made with little to no deviations to time and budget, as it was early on. This would suggest that even the impact to client change orders could be minimized with proper mitigation and planning. Lastly, a weekly risk report was created and began to be used on the project to track progress. Ultimately, the project was procured 23% under budget for $3.8 million. The initial project was delivered on time and on budget with a satisfied client. However, there was an unforeseen change order due to additional work, which added time and duration of the project. 8 risk mitigating actions were identified from the vendor, of which 7 were performed before the project was awarded, and that's probably the biggest finding I think there is. This finding was significant because it identified the majority of risk mitigation happens up front, And this is a step that normally in traditional processes they skip. So 7 of the 8 risk mitigating actions in traditional processes might not even be happening. The 8 risk mitigating actions you can read on the slide, with the last being after the award. But this included things like getting the right people, planning the project properly, all which may seem like common sense things, but often it's not the case. The best value approach was determined successful due to its vendor-centric approach of utilizing expertise. The framework of BVA promotes and facilitates vendors to perform the mitigating actions that an expert would naturally perform. For an expert, the process further distinguishes them and allows them to be given an advantage based on their expertise. The findings would suggest that the BVA framework can be applied to any project by any vendor. Like I mentioned before, the framework almost forces early coordination and clarification that allows the vendor to increase their normal performance, lower their normal costs, and minimize risk in any project. Now, further tests need to be done which identify additional risk mitigating actions and validate these results by repetition. But this was really a great article for risk and performance. I hope, like I told you, you click on that link below and you read more about this article. But I hope you enjoyed this recap, and I'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for more content. If you have any questions about the best value approach or for Dr. Dean, leave them in the comment section below and we'll get to them in a later video. Thanks, we'll see you next time.